When you think of the term roguelike, you most likely think of games such as Spelunky and The Binding of Isaac, which is fair, as they brought the genre to prominence during the last decade. But there's a reason there's such a term as roguelike, due to an old Epic's title released in 1980 called Rogue. This game was the first of its kind and boasted sick ass graphics that will make your balls explode, along with gameplay never seen before. Procedurally generated maps, permadeath, random encounters, and tons of loot, all staples to the modern games in the genre. I've never played it before and probably never will. Regardless, these are my top 10 games to sprout from the OG of the genre. Before we get into the top 10, I have some honorable mentions that just did not make the list. Into the Breach is a turn-based tactical grid roguelike made by Subset Games, the creators of Faster Than Light. An unforgiving game where you pilot mechs to save cities from alien monsters and kaiju. Fantastic game. 20XX is a roguelike based off Mega Man X, one of my favorite games of all time. Created by Chris King, this game almost made the list, but not quite. Collect boss upgrades and platform through treacherous levels. Also playable in co-op, which is highly recommended. Undermine, developed by Thorium, is the closest successor to Binding of Isaac I've actually played. Very fun delving through the depths of the mine and collecting gold, just to keep it away from these pesky slimes. If you have an itch for binding, but want something new, this is your game. Dungetress. Dungetress is a unique roguelike, where you place tiles in order to progress through each level. The tiles have anything from monsters to loot. A very creative way to progress throughout the game that isn't offered anywhere else. If you've ever thought you could mix a dungeon crawler with Tetris, this game does it very well. Honestly, I'm not sure where you can find this game anymore. Now, moving into the top 10. Coming in at number 10, Hades. Slice your way through the underworld in Hades. You play as Zagreus, the son of motherfucking Hades himself. Unlike Hercules, Cerberus is your little pup, and it's kind of adorable. Borrow special abilities from your Greek god family as you descend through levels of hell with the help of Charon, while dashing through all kinds of fiendish foes. Released initially in December 2018 by Supergiant Games, we didn't see the 1.0 release until very recently. Hades might be the most mainstream title on this list, as the gameplay and graphics are crisp. What really ties this in with the roguelike genre is not only the replay on death or victory, but how the story evolves with each attempt in a very unique way that other roguelike games haven't quite achieved. This title falls so short on the list for me because I'm not the biggest fan of the action. Don't get me wrong, it's very fun, but I don't seem to be as hyped about it as many other people. Definitely check this game out though, I bet you will thoroughly enjoy it. Number 9. Children of Morta. The Bergson family just wants to be left alone, but evil forces are being a bunch of a-holes and won't let them. This evil called the Corruption sinks into their lives and attempts to take over Mount Morta. The Bergsons ain't gonna let that happen. Released in September 2019, developed by Dead Mage, Children of Morta plays like a hack and slash looter akin to Diablo and Path of Exile, but with roguelike elements. What really sets this game apart is the story and how it's told as the family evolves, brings new life into the nest, and grows. A very well told story with fun mechanics. I highly recommend Children of Morta. However, the replayability hasn't been there for me since it is so story driven. I never felt a need to replay it, and got everything I wanted out of it within the first playthrough. Regardless, it does not detract from the game's excellence, and if you want a fresh take of a dungeon crawling looter, try this game out. You will not regret it. Number 8. Streets of Rogue. Streets of Rogue is one hell of a fun time. Released in 2019, this roguelike allows the player to take over robots, poison a city with all kinds of drugs, or convert the homeless population into a horde of brain-eating zombies. These are literally just a few of the insane stunts you can pull in Streets of Rogue. With tons of unique classes to choose from, as well as the ability to create your own, every run feels fresh. The best thing about this game, which does really elevate its replayability, is the co-op mode. Join your friends and compete to finish the level or set them up for failure by aggroing three armed soldiers right into them. Don't worry, if they die, you can be a good teammate and revive them to 10 HP with a little bit of your leftover HP. Be careful though, because once you do die, all of your loot drops with you, and those same teammates you fucked over can return the favor by taking your precious, precious gold. Number 7. Timebreak Chronicles. Timebreak Chronicles is a fantastic turn-based JRPG roguelike released in 2020. It is still in early access on Steam. Announced in 2015, it's been a long-time project from developer and publisher Warrior General Games. Embark on a journey through space, recruiting dozens of different warriors, each with unique abilities to form a party with tons of customization. With frequent updates, this is said to have 100 plus characters available to use by the end of early access. Timebreak Chronicles plays like Final Fantasy VI, but moves along the map like Slay the Spire, where you move along in a branching path with different options for each encounter, such as battles, resupplies, recruitments, and rest points. With so much variety, I highly recommend you go out and try this game. This way we can support the developers and see how much you like this unique roguelike title. Number 6. World of Horror. The only horror-themed roguelike on this list, the World of Horror brings a fresh coat of paint to the roguelike genre. First things first, the graphics will not blow you away, but they're not supposed to. This is presented as a 1-bit retro-styled game. Inspired by writers such as Lovecraft and Junji Ito, it is very apparent as you try to survive from ominous cosmic entities. And I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty dismal. Released in 2019 by Pan Staz, you will go through various locations trying to uncover the mysteries of Shiokawa, Japan. On the way, you'll encounter plenty of disturbing images and creatures. Death is imminent. Do your best to survive, as this is no cakewalk. If you're looking for something you most likely have never played anything like, as I hadn't at the time, give World of Horror a try and treat your damn self. Number 5. One Step from Eden. I myself had never tried Mega Man Battle Network back in the day, so when I first gave a shot at the One Step from Eden, I was completely caught off guard by the gameplay. At first, this shit is no joke. You will die a lot. The rhythm of the movements and the patterns take a bit of time to get used to, and even then, it's a very challenging title. Honestly, it only makes it more enjoyable though. This game is played on a 3x3 grid where you have to time your abilities and attacks with precise movements across the grid in a fast-paced battle. Released in March 2020 by developer Thomas Moon Kang, One Step gives you a deck builder style when it comes to your abilities. What you do is you cycle through them during the battle, and you must use synergies to make your attacks more effective and efficient. This also means you need to pay close attention to what you are picking up in shops, as well as pay attention to what you need to remove from your deck. But none of that really pales in comparison to the action within each battle, which is the real appeal here. Give it a shot. Number 4. Enter the Gungeon. Enter the Gungeon is a fantastic twin-stick shooter where you dodge and roll your way around literal bullet hell. Literally. Released in 2016 by developer Dodgerel, this tight action roguelike will have you at the edge of your seat for hours on end. It can get pretty difficult, but if that's what you're into, then this game is highly recommended. With such a huge variety of weapons, one of my favorites being the lowercase r, which shoots out letters bullet over and over, and it's awesome. Enter the Gungeon has a insane amount of possibilities with the different guns you can obtain throughout each run. There are also different characters to choose from that each have their own special abilities. Go ahead, test your luck and your skill, see if you can beat the mighty drag gun. Number 3. Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is one of the most influential roguelike titles on this list, along with Binding of Isaac. This title introduced both card game and roguelike players into the perfect fusion of the two, a perfect deck building adventure. Released in 2017 by Mega Crit Games, Slay the Spire throws you into one hell of a journey to defeat the corrupted heart. But that's only after you get through the other 3 bosses, the Awakened One, Dunwin Deka, and the Time Eater. Currently with 4 different characters to play, all with their own unique set of cards, you must battle all kinds of monsters and cultists in the strategic battle of the mind. Your twin stick shooting and platforming skills don't mean shit here, boys. This is all careful planning and mental fortitude. If you're a fan of collectible and trading card games, I highly recommend this game. It has endless replayability and tons of free content you can get through the Steam Workshop. This is definitely one of my favorites, and I've spent hundreds of hours in this game. Number 2. Monster Train. With all of the Slay the Spire clones being released constantly on both phones and PC, the only one I found up to this point with enough to differentiate itself as well as introduce something unique is Monster Train. Released in May 2020 by developer Shiny Shoe, in Monster Train, instead of doing a single fight on one plane, you are now defending your train's heart from a swarm of enemies. They're trying to climb their way up 3 stories to get their dirty, gross, poopy hands all over your HP total. The strategy here relies much more on the position of your units, as well as utilizing the position of the enemies in comparison to just playing out your cards. It's very hard for me personally to determine which of the two I enjoy more between Monster Train and Slay the Spire, but Monster Train does offer a whole new way of thinking, while still bringing back the deck building and card synergies of Slay the Spire. Instead of having individual heroes, you have 2 different clans here, with different abilities, and you mix them to find synergies and combos, all in efforts to keep the Monster Train alive. This is a must try for any card game and strategy lover. I highly, highly recommend it. Number 1. Binding of Isaac. To me, the most classic of all roguelike games has got to be the legendary Binding of Isaac. This is where it all really started for me, and for most of us, I'm sure. Released initially by Edmund Macmillan and Florian Hemsel in 2011, this game started out as a humble but disgusting take on a roguelike Zelda game. Through years of work, we've been graced with the current version of Binding of Isaac, which is Afterbirth Plus, as well as the DLC Repentance on the way later this year. I know plenty of people will disagree and say that Spelunky is the OG roguelike of the 2000s, but I personally think that game is pretty meh. Do you like shooting your tears at piles of shit, just to find out there's a sentient turd sliding right at you? No? Too bad. That's just the first level. This game is legit bonkers, and on top of that, the gameplay is so much fun, with hundreds of different items and relics to combine for ridiculous combinations that may or may not break the game entirely. This title has endless replay value, and I mean that. Plenty of people have sunken hundreds of hours of their precious time into this silly game and still come back. This is a must-play title for anyone who has not played it.